All right, here we have video 2 for liberal arts math final exam review. And let's just get right to it. All right, question 10. As a valet at the mall, Davis works 7-hour shifts. He earns $6 per hour and keeps 70% of his tip money. How much does Davis need to be tipped so that he takes home exactly $87.50 before taxes are deducted per shift? Okay, so let's set up an equation here. All right, some things that aren't changing in this process. He's got 7-hour shifts and he makes $6 for every one of those hours. And we want to make $87.50. So we want $87.50. And then that'll come from 7 times 6 for the hourly wage, plus 70% of his tip money. So what we don't know is the tips. So 70% as a decimal, 0.7, and we'll use T for tips. T equals tips. So if we solve this equation, we get one of these answers here. So if we do 7 times 6, that's 42. Subtract 42 from both sides. And then we divide by 0.7 on both sides, which is going to equal 65. If you wanted to solve it a different way, not coming up with an equation, you could try out each one of these as tip money. So if we plug in $65, we take 70% of $65. Sorry about that. If we take 70% of $65, we're going to get $45.50. And then if we add that to what he makes in a shift, 42, we're going to get the 87.5. So you can work this problem backwards and still get the correct answer. All right, question 11 says an architect's model of a building uses a scale in which a 1/4 inch equals 1 foot. If the width of the building is 84 feet, how many inches will the width of the model be? So I'm going to change this to a decimal. So 0.25 inches to every 1 foot equals, I don't know, over 84 feet. So here if we cross multiply 84 times 0.25, 1 times, well, we'll call this x, our answer will be I believe it's 21. Yeah, 21. All right, question 12 asks, what's the solution to the system of equations below? There's a couple of different ways you can solve this. I think elimination works the easiest. So if we're trying to eliminate a variable, I'm looking for the easiest way to do that. And if I make this one right here a positive 2y, it'll cancel with the negative 2y here. So if I multiply by 2, I'm going to get 10x plus 2y equals 8 times 2 is 16. Now drag this other one over here. I'll get 3x minus 2y equals 10. So 10 plus 3x is going to be 13x. That's going to cancel out, and 16 and 10 is 26. Divide by 13, and we get x equals 2. Well, the solution to a system of equations is an ordered pair. But if we look at our options here, wrong x, wrong x, wrong x, then we don't need to finish the problem. There's only one x value that's a 2, so you don't need to plug that back in to find the y. If you did, you could just plug it back in for x in any one of these 4 equations. Well, really 3 equations. So if I plugged it in for x in this bottom one here, oops, that's a minus. And that's going to be 6 minus 2y equals 10. Subtract 6. Divide by negative 2. And I get y equals negative 2, which it does in that choice. All right, on to question 16. All right, question 16 says, which of the following graphs matches the table above? Well, this table is ordered pairs, so this first one here would be negative 4, 2. The second one would be 0, negative 1, and the last one would be 4, negative 4. So we're looking for the line that goes through those 3 points. So let's start here, negative 4, positive 2. Negative 4, positive 2 would be right there. This one's good. Negative 4, positive 2, not that one. Negative 4, positive 2, not that one. And negative 4, positive 2, not that one. So that leaves us with this choice. Now, you got to be very careful here because this is what? This is W. We want to choose the one that says W. So the way the answer choice is here, you got to make sure that you choose the correct one. Don't just pick the top one because it's the first graph. All right, number 14, simplify the expression. All right, so I would distribute. So we get 5x. 5 times 5 would be 25. In this case, make sure you're distributing the negative. So negative 7 times 5x would be negative 35x. Negative 7 times 6 would be negative 42. And combine your like terms. So your x term and your x term. Negative 35x and a positive 5x would be negative 30x. And then when we look here, yep, all of them say that. And 25 and a negative 42. So I would do 42 minus 25. That's negative. The points scored by the Boston Devil Rays basketball team during the first 5 games of the season are listed below. During the 6th game, the Devil Rays played a much better opponent and scored only 18 points. Which of the following will change the most as a result of the score in the 6th game? All right, so our options are range, mode, mean, median. All right, well, if we're going to talk about, well, median, these have to be in order. So if I go from the lowest to the greatest, that would be 65, and then 74, then 75, then 77, and then 84. And then the most recent score was 18. So I put that in a different color because I want to consider the group with the 18 and I want to consider it without to see how these are going to be different. All right, so if we look in green, just consider the 65 through the 84. The range of the data, that's going to be the biggest minus the smallest, so that would be 84 minus 65, which is 19. Okay, and if I look at the mode of the data, well, there is no mode. There's no repeated thing in either case, so no mode. And then if I look at the mean of the data, if I add up 65, 74, 75, 77, and 84, and I get 350, no, 375. All right, so I'm going to get for the average mean, that's x bar, which means mean. I'm going to get 375 divided by 5 numbers, and that's going to be 75. Okay, and then the last thing we need to look at is the median. The median is going to be the middle number. Now we're only looking at the green ones. The middle number is going to be 75. So the median, or second quartile number, is 75. Okay, now I'll change it to look at the data, these 4 data points with 18 included. All right, so the range is going to be 84 minus 18. Which would be 66. All right, so compare that with the range from just the green numbers. It's a huge difference. All right, as far as mode goes, still no mode. There's nothing repeated. The average is going to change a bit because we're throwing in a low score, so the average is going to go down. If we add up all these numbers, I'm going to get 393 and divide it by 6 since there's 6 numbers. So the new average is going to be 65.5. There's a difference there, 75 to 65.5, but it's not as big as the range, and that's what we're looking for. Which of these will change the most? Okay, so let's look at the median, second quartile number. It's going to be the middle number. Well, we have 6 numbers, so the middle number is going to fall right in between those two, which would be 74.5. And that's almost the same as 75, so they're very close. So the mean changed a little bit. The median changed a minute amount. The mode didn't change at all because I didn't have a different number. A repeated number rather, but the range changed the most, from a range of 19 to a range of 66. So I'm going to select A. And question 16 says, what is the y-intercept for the graph of the equation? Well, we've got a straight line here, 3x minus 2y equals 9. So I would want to get it into slope-intercept form, because then I can say B is my y-intercept. So to get this into y equals mx plus b, I'm going to subtract the 3x from both sides. Bring down this minus 2, don't forget the minus. And then to get the y by itself, I'm going to divide by -2 everything. So this is my y-intercept. Question 17. Monique collected data on the ages and heights of random samples 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students at her school. If she plots the data on a scatter plot, what relationship will she most likely see between age and height? Well, in general, as you grow up, you grow taller. So the conventional wisdom will say that a scatter plot that she would find would show their age increasing here and their height increasing here. So as they're younger, they're going to have a smaller height, and as they get older, they're going to have a taller height in general. So you're going to have some that maybe are older and then still short, or you may have a young person who's kind of tall. But in general, what you're most likely going to find is that the points of data are probably going to find a positive correlation, as in the slope of the group of dots is going to be positive, and they're correlated. They're not just scattered everywhere. So we're going to choose B, positive correlation. A negative correlation would mean that as they grew older, they were shrinking, which you're not likely to see. Constant correlation would mean that the dots would be perfect. They would line up in a perfect line. It's not going to happen. No correlation would mean that there's nothing connecting these two things. As you grow older, you don't necessarily grow taller, so there's not going to be no correlation. So positive correlation is the best one to pick here. Which of the following represents the graph of the equation below? All right, so I've got 4 graphs, 4 parabolas. And if we look at our equation, the first thing that I notice is that the x squared is negative, which means this one or this one. These two are automatically out. It's because the orientation of the parabola opens down because of the minus. All right, the +2 is going to shift the graph up 2 points. So this one's out, and this one is the one we want to pick, which is y, and that's going to be b. Question 19, what is the solution to the inequality below? Well, we'll just work this out, distribute that. If I subtract 5x from both sides, we get 7x is greater than -10. Divide by 7. X is greater than -10/7, which is D. Question 20. The Gomez family budgeted $4,000 for their ski trip. Their budget consists of $800 for travel costs and $120 per day for other expenses, which inequality represents the number of days X and the family could have stayed on their ski trip. So the only thing that's changing is number of days, and that's going to change this per day cost. So the X and the 120 are going to be attached to each other. So every day they stay, you're going to multiply by 120, and then they're going to add $800 because that was the travel expense. That doesn't change, so there's no variable attached to it. And we want this to be equal to or less than or equal to 4,000. And that is going to be the same as A. Let's take a look at the other options here and why you wouldn't pick it. B would mean that every day they traveled, and that $800 would be multiplied by every day, so that would throw that one out. C is subtracting the 120 from a daily travel rate, which is ridiculous. The last one would be $800 for traveling plus $100 per day. That's good, but that's greater than or equal to 4,000. So if they did this, they're going to come up with a long list of numbers that they can't stay because it's going to be over their budget. So here it's because of the inequality symbol. All right, and that's the end of the second video. Please proceed to video 3.